Hey everyone, welcome back to our fourth episode of Beyond Service. Today we're going to talk about how technology and innovation have created an extremely competitive landscape, driving customer experience expectations in field and home service sky high. Tonight we have Scott Reyes, Paul Hilton from Zebra Technologies, a highly valued partner of ours at WorkWave, on to talk about how field and home service business can stay ahead of their competition by digitally empowered and so utilize emerging technologies to their advantage. So, welcome in Scott and Paul. Hey fellas, how are you doing?
Hey,
Good.
how are you?
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we'll jump into it. We want to learn a little bit about you. Scott, if you can kick us off. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with Zebra?
Yeah, so my name is Scott Reyes. I am a software engagement manager, or if you guys look me up on LinkedIn, it's an ISV manager for manufacturing, transportation, logistics, and field service. I'm at West Palm Beach, Florida, so come down and see us sometime.
When I can get on a plane and it's safe, but it's slightly warmer than New Jersey, so sure. But Paul, let's kick it over to you. Can you tell us a little about yourself and what you do with Zebra?
Sure. I have an interesting role here at Zebra. I don't own any accounts or partners or product portfolios. I'm an industry strategist, so I kind of own an industry. And it's really my role just to keep track of everything going on inside that industry, whether it's internal or external, and just make sure that Zebra is aligned with the best product, the best partners, the best ISVs to meet those industries' needs. So it's a fun role. It's a little bit different each and every day before COVID. With COVID, every day is a little bit the same, but getting out, meeting with customers, seeing their operations, meeting with partners, learning their offerings. It's a fun role.
Just digitally and virtually these days, but I got it. And no pressure to both of you. The last guest got me chocolates afterwards because the interview was that good. So, you know.
Really?
But let's see
Chocolates, huh?
But let's see what happens. So,
Yeah.
so we're talking about emerging technology, but let's do a back to the future, meaning we're going to the past first. So Scott, as a child, whatever decade you grew up in, what did you think was the coolest new technology to come out when you were growing up?
Wow. So I grew up in a couple different decades, right? I was born in 1980 and really kind of grew up through the 90s. Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies, by the way. The trilogy, right? Not just the first one. And I was talking to Paul about this before, but really one of the most interesting technologies was a beeper for me growing up as a teenager. Being able to beep somebody and get them to respond and use a quarter to make a phone call on the payphone.
Right.
That was cool.
Right.
Two-way technology.
Unless you did the fake collect call like me, and when they said you have a collect call from, and you just say your name really quick, Mom, please pick me up in the gym. But regardless of that. And you had me until you said the trilogy. You know, because if you thought 3 was good, we might have to end the interview now. But, Paul, let's jump to you. Coolest new technology growing up. What do you think?
Well, first off, I'm with Scott Beeper King Reyes. Team trilogy all the way when it comes to Back to the Future. But I was thinking about this. That's a good question. I think it'd have to be, it's a little nerdy, but video games. It just, once it went to multiplayer, and then even playing multiple players, even if they're not in the same room, you know, it just added another way for me to dominate my brothers, and it helped establish that dominance upon them. So it was good.
For me, they slightly went downhill after up, up, down, down, left, right, BA select start went out of style. But I still remember in my later years of playing Halo with the huge wire connecting upstairs to downstairs to play on 2 TVs. So we can geek out about as much of this as we can, and I'm sure that's exactly why the audience tuned in. But before we jump in, for anyone watching right now, if you have any questions at all during the interview, feel free to pop them in the comments section. We're going to get to as many as we can during the interview, after the interview, as soon as we can. So let's hop into it. I mean, it's no secret. Customer expectations are higher than ever before. And they really only continue to rise, not only with the service they're receiving, but the entire experience they have with the company, from initial contact to payment to recurring services, everything in between. So I'm curious, Scott, if you could start us off. I mean, what are some of the core elements that customers expect a field service company to excel at in 2020?
I think service level agreement is key, right? So part of what's going on in the world today, I need a quick response time, even faster than before, right? So 24 hours, 48 hours really isn't enough. So just in my experience, the other day I called my internet service provider because I had some issues with my internet. It took, right, obviously. So, which I never really made a phone call in the first place. So having it for over 6 months, never made a complaint at all. I made 2 phone calls over 5 days, and then I had to get a truck rolled out. But it took them 5 days to get here. And for me, it was like, why can't I get somebody, if I call on Saturday, why can't I get somebody on Sunday or Monday? And they were saying I was being unreasonable. I didn't think I was being unreasonable. My internet needed to be up and running, right? Like, it's part of who we are today. Like, we need the internet. It's a utility now. It's no longer nice to have. So field service companies need to be able to respond as quickly as the demand changes in this consumer economy, right? I think it's the experience economy is what they're calling it now, right?
Yeah. Paul, feel free to jump in if there was anything more that you might want to add to that.
Yeah, no, I think Scott definitely checked the first box there, but the other kind of after that, the secondary is just the confidence that it's going to get done. It's going to get done right. And if something should happen after that tech leaves or after the service is complete, that they're going to do everything they can to make it right and to get it back up to the expectation level that was set when it was initially installed or sold.
And to Paul's point, I think if you look at it from a company's perspective, you only want to roll that truck once, or maybe even never, right? So first time resolution is key to keeping everything down, costs down, being more efficient,
Right, especially when choice comes into it. So absolutely makes sense. So as everyone knows, next week, a major holiday here in the U.S., it's Prime Day. And Black Friday comes after that. Cyber Monday comes after that. I mean, we're already, scary to say, we are already in the thick of the shopping season. And especially with COVID, where delivery is going to be more important. So e-commerce this year is going to be larger than it's ever been, especially a lot of stores even shutting down on Black Friday and not allowing people in. So maybe our audience doesn't correlate e-commerce and field service operations, but it's really changed the way that our society does business across the board. Paul, I mean, can you touch on some ways maybe that e-commerce has changed specifically home service customer demands, such as convenience and speed?
Well, I appreciate the reminder that I need to be shopping right now, because I'm definitely not.
Christmas shopping.
I haven't even thought about it, but so thank you for that. I already feel behind the gun, but yeah, it's all around those expectations. E-commerce has set our expectations that we are going to have the selection we want. We are going to get it as quick as possible, and we're going to get it for the best price. And that's definitely translating to everything that these customers are doing, even with these field techs and field service. It's like Scott said, his internet was down. He didn't want to wait 5 days. He needed it now. And it's, being able, when they come out, we're expecting them to have everything, every tool, every part, every piece of knowledge they need to fix it right then. And, at a fair and competitive price.
Yeah. And a good question from online from Scott Massio. Question happens to be around, equating the e-commerce experience with the sales process, such as like online booking. I mean, do we see it in field service now that people don't want to pick up the phone? They don't want to speak to the salesperson. They just want to go online and do what they're accustomed to doing now, as in the e-commerce side?
I think so. Right. So I'll give you another personal experience of mine. My landscaper comes in once every 2 weeks comes to mow the lawn. He still takes a check. It's going to be a problem for me at the end of this year when my checkbook runs out. So I told him that, right? Like, we're going to have to find another form of payment because, so Zelly, I'm training him how to do Zelly and how to take a Zelle payment or even move to that next piece. But really, e-commerce is, for me, I look at it from a field service perspective, should be a base technology function at this point, right? Based on the way we interact with Amazon, you name it, Wayfair, we're buying online at tremendous rates, right? I mean, I read somewhere, I can't remember where, but 95% of the sales by 2040 are going to be via e-commerce. So with this whole pandemic, as it's done in other markets, it's pushed technology forward. So many organizations who have had technology uplifts or upgrades on their spectrum kind of pull them in because they need to have these contactless or touchless kind of scenarios. If I want to upgrade to him trimming the bushes or putting out more whatever in the backyard, I should be able to do that, either giving him a call or go online and put in the new order, and it should be done that way. That's my personal experience. And that's when I'm home every day. I can see him walk back and forth. He's mowing the lawn. So.
Yeah, I agree. When you look at my to-do list, the items on that to-do list are the ones that I can do online without having to get on the phone, get done much quicker. As I'm sitting here on Zoom calls all day, and it's easy to, maybe ignore Scott or whatever a little bit and go knock out an item or two. So that's definitely a huge factor. But there's also a big movement to go more proactive and get someone set up on some kind of scheduled maintenance or some kind of scheduled service there that just really, my lawn care, I do one, I talk to them once a year, maybe twice over the phone. It's just on the early in the year, and we just talk about what I want to have happen this year, and then they just kind of show up on their schedule whenever it's the right timing to do the fertilizer, the pest control, or the weed treatment, and it just gets done, and I don't even have to think about it. So it's definitely movements towards having to interact less or being able to do more on your own, just being able to go online and upgrade, downgrade services. Definitely going to stick around here for a while.
Yeah, you guys touch on a lot of key points. I mean, we see, look, cash is king, but recurring cash is queen. I mean, how can I get to stop sending you checks and just to have a recurring cash flow is extremely important. That's completely contactless. So whether that happens to be a credit card or ACH or something. Plus, the average homeowner age has dropped. It's now 32 years old. And I'm slightly older than that, but I still don't want to get on the phone with people. If I could do everything I can do by the computer, I'm going to do that. And those that don't have that technology makes me think, who's leading that business? And is that someone that I want to have come to my house to do different things? So that's a piece to it. But in our world where we want to know what is everything doing, where is everything, I look at it as Amazon, because of course they're leading the way. When your package is coming. The week before, the day before, 6 to 8 stops before. How do you think that translate from a user or a customer perspective into field service, where they want to know where is the individual? Do you see that as being prevalent, or is it more of, well, as long as they come?
There's always going to be some things that you want to work around. There's always multiple things that could be going on at a location where that asset's being serviced or repaired, and you definitely need to there needs to be some kind of coordination. Right now, we're not really seeing that kind of, I don't know if you want to call it automation like we see with Amazon, but for lack of a better word, we're not seeing that quite yet in the field service space, but I think that's definitely on the horizon.
Yeah, I think to Paul's point, I don't see them. I don't see wanting to know that you're 5 stops away or doing the guy around the corners lawn before you come to mine. That's just part of the nature of that particular business. But I do want a digital door hanger, right? I mean, I don't know if people still do that, but tell me that you were here, shoot me an email. I might be ignoring you because I'm on Zoom calls with Paul while he's ignoring me. But right, the whole point is that you leave me a picture, lawn's done, right? The hedges were trimmed, awesome. And then I can even do a digital survey at that point and give you feedback immediately, right? So there's just that kind of immediate feedback, I think, is key, because then you know whether or not your customer is happy. And if there's no form to receive that information, you just never know. So you don't have the upgrade ability, right? So as a kid, you always tell them upserve them, upgrade them, right? So we're all in sales to some extent, and that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Forget as a kid, I still tell my team upgrade them, so that never dies. So let's switch over. We'll stay in innovation, obviously, but go into adaptation. So can one of you start just going over? I'm curious of some innovative ways that you're seeing how businesses in field service adapt to stay competitive in terms of using technology. Maybe some examples of what some companies have done that you've seen.
Yeah, well, I think Scott touched on a big one. Speeding up that order to cash is just a huge advantage upon your competition there. If you can get paid sooner and get those funds sooner, then you'll be able to do more with that and expand those offerings.
Yeah, I mean, and when you say interesting ways in field service, just generic field service, is that what we're talking about, Michael, and just overall what's new technology out there?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, what we're hearing about, and we in Zebra and we're working on, we have a heads-up display, right? So what's happening in a generic field service space, augmented reality, AR cars being used. So in my previous example of the internet guy coming to the house, right, the cable guy coming to the house, the reality is that he could have done a merged reality session with me over the phone and never stepped into my home and helped me connect to the router, do all the troubleshooting. He could have stayed outside my house and connected to my router and made all the specific changes he needed to on the router. But he came through my house. He wore his mask, obviously. But everybody in the house was all nervous about a stranger walking through your home. Before it was the cable guy, and it's all good, right? He's coming to fix cable. Now it's the cable guy. Do you know him? Where's he from? Is he around the neighborhood? Right? There's so many other questions. So merged reality, AR core, all that stuff is really something new and interesting that we thought maybe that's futuristic. It's actually happening right now. That could have potentially avoided a truck roll in my example in that one, right? Because if someone could have done that from a phone call perspective, just through the camera on the computer or even another mobile device, we could have had an interactive merged reality session.
Which has got to be
on that Saturday afternoon.
Which has got to be much less expensive for them to run. We've even seen examples. I mean, look, the good thing is over the past 20 years, more people have been going to college. The bad thing is less people are going to trade schools. So we see a lot of industries and field services are going through a shortage of experienced. But what if a less experienced technician could come out and have that augmented reality of looking at wires or pipes, and then a more experienced person looking at it and showing them and telling them and giving them ways to do it. So we definitely hear of a lot of emerging technologies helping companies out. And since we love talking about internet and bandwidth and connectability, 5G technology is now, it's widely available for most businesses. I mean, to put it in perspective, what do we have now that we didn't have 10 years ago when we went from 3G to 4G, and what will having the capabilities of 5G mean to field service providers?
Oh, 5G. That's something that we talk about quite a bit over here. Yeah. It's interesting. It's definitely the big buzzword that is attracting eyes of just about everybody. It's something that everyone can relate to now. So that's something that's different. Back, going 3G to 4G, it only really pertained to a small subset of folks and groups. So now 5G everyone can relate to it, and everyone is thinking of it in some different ways of how they want to leverage it. So it's interesting, and a lot of the conversations we have from our end users and our customers are more requests for education. They see the commercials just like you and I do, and their leadership does as well, or their ownership, and they are looking to be educated so that they can properly set their leadership's expectations of where they need to be or what they need to be doing with it. So we're just on the forefront of it. We do plan to dip our toe in that water here very soon with some devices, but it's definitely a whole new world. There's so many different things that you could do, so many different ways that you could collect that data to send over that bandwidth there. So it's definitely an increase on the bandwidth pool. There's all kinds of sensors and everything that can be connected now to feed us data without us being, standing right in front of that asset or that location. And it's going to bring some exciting things.
Yeah, I think it's going to bring a lot of automation and use or better use of AI, right? Or machine learning as we go down that path. So to Paul's point, I think all these sensors, IoT, industrial IoT, all that stuff that's out there today, that's on an engine or a motor or whatever, it's all going to be able to be pushed up through a larger pipe. You have real-time data analytics, dashboards, predictive analytics, right? To the point where I think eventually you'll have AI looking at scheduling your service calls. So yeah. I think that's in the near future, not that far away.
Crazy game changer, sounds like it. And Paul, you started talking about devices. So Zebra provides rugged devices. Can you help explain to our audience what is a rugged device, and what are the advantages of using a rugged device over a traditional mobile device, and really how our audience can use them to become digitally empowered?
Sure. So when we say rugged, what we really are saying are purpose-built for whatever application you want to use that in. If one of the most rugged areas that we see is under the tarmac of at an airport, under the wing on a tarmac, where it's if you drop that device, it's dropping right to concrete. It's out in every kind of element of weather, every kind of temperature. It is a long shift. They're getting run over by the tugs. And so we set out knowing that criteria and build that device to withstand those drops, any kind of vibrations, that setting that we need to do adjustable screens so that you can read it in just direct sunlight. Also to be adjustable to be used with gloves or with condensation on the screen, keeping dust and moisture out of the device. But also it goes beyond that to more than just some technical specs. Also supporting it. When you and I, when we get a new cell phone, it's we're probably going to keep it a year, maybe 2 years. And then we're going to go get the new upgrade. So we just need that device to, be supported for that short time frame. A lot of our customers, they want to use their solutions in a much longer time frame. We find groups that want to use a solution and all the components in it for 6, 8, 10. I think the longest I found was a device that had been being used for 14 years. And so, you need the technical specs to make sure that it's going to last the time frame that they want it to, but also the support, the updates, the software updates, servicing it, it's we offer the comprehensive service. So if this thing gets blown up, all we need to do is read a serial number with the right service package, and we can we'll fix or replace. So there's a lot of things that go into it, but the main takeaway there is no matter what your niche need is, we would set out to build that device or that component to go right into that and fit the exact need there.
Got it.
God, I don't know if I.
No, I think you're
check every
right on
box
mark.
there.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things that people don't, a lot of organizations don't know about what we do. They're looking to look at the next operating system. So they think, well, Zebras has these purposeful, rugged devices, and they're Windows based. No, we actually have a lot that are Android based, right? So Androids come into the enterprise market in a large way. We were one of the first ones to market, right? Paul, I think back in 2014 or something like that, around that time frame. We have one of the largest portfolios on Android, and really they're where you would think they're supported like the consumer device, because the operating system on your cell phone is only going to last about 18 months. We've made this connection with Google that allows us to support our Android operating systems 3 and 5 years. So even when Google ends of life it, or they put it on the end of life cycle, we can still support it with patch updates and bug updates and security updates, allowing us to extend to what Paul was saying, a device on Android 5-10 years, right? So that's what our customers are looking for, especially moving to this next level of Android and looking at that next operating system, right? Getting ready to accept all this new technology, e-commerce, AI, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible what the device could stand up to. So my 9-year-old just said challenge accepted, but I'm sure it's 9-year-old boy approved, So, so
I've given it a test, that's for sure.
Leave it in the car a couple times, just test it.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott, I mean, besides devices, are there any other technologies that you could point to right now that are available now, or maybe that will be seen soon that field service providers can benefit from?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the AR core stuff, but yeah, that's available right now, right? Like there are solutions out there to do merged reality today. We have AR core built into our devices, right? So that's what's the next evolution for our devices. It's that digital twin scenarios, right? So people are out there making a digital twin of an engine or whatever it might be, and this way someone on the other end can say, well, twist it that way, turn it this way, this is what's happening, and they can see it on the device, on the laptop or the tablet or your rugged mobile computer, right? So yeah, that's embedded in our chips today. So
I know Tony Stark had one of those 7 years ago, so it's good to know that we caught up. But
yeah, seriously, right? It's about time.
Very cool. Great. So to sum up, we're getting towards the end, but honestly, for anyone who joined late, for anyone who hasn't rewound and listened to this at a later date, Paul, I mean, top 3 technologies that field service providers need to start using right now. And if you want to go back and forth, you don't have to handle all 3. Scott will chip in one for you.
Yeah, I'll throw one in there.
Well, I like the heads-up display. That is something that is it's cutting edge, but also very real. Something that you can start using now. We talked about sensors. The sensor portfolio out there in the world, they're starting to build them all shapes and sizes and capabilities and different metrics that they're measuring. And the third I would throw out is remote access. We're getting to a point of connectivity to where you can remote access into just about anything. And that it's depending on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it, there's going to be different ways to do it. But I'd be leveraging those 3 right now.
Scott, did you want to add any in, or Paul kind of covered?
Yeah, I think Paul covered it, but I'll add some. I'll add some in there, Paul. We'll make it more. Right? So I mean, schedule optimization. I look at it from a field service perspective. Schedule optimization. Like we talked about e-commerce. Let's bring it back to that. Like if you don't have it, you got to go out and get it. And then performance management. I mean, we're looking at dashboards, analytics, predictability. That's really key. Like if you don't have it, you got to start looking at when can you bring that on as soon as possible, right? Because you got to be ready for all this other things that we're doing. So.
Right, and a lot of these are good for these big companies or some that are intricate. But let's go to some smaller business owners, because look, adapting to new technologies can be overwhelming at first. My parents will be the first to raise their hand. So when we speak and we look at it in field service, not everyone is leading. There's a lot of laggards that out there. You're still giving a check to the person that mows your lawn. There are some basic things out there. I mean, what we see every day is even just older websites, and how much does that turn somebody off? Or the inability to do what they want to do online. They force you to call someone, in which, again, doesn't necessarily matter what decade you were born, but I don't want to talk to anybody. If I can't do it online, I'm probably going to the next. That's even when I order dinner. So let's go to the smaller business owner. What advice can you guys give to a business owner that may be overwhelmed by adopting these technologies into their operations, even though if it makes it a seamless transition? Is there any advice that you can give to any of them?
I would recommend, and we see this, we see that spectrum where there's always going to be a wide spectrum, and that's just always going to be there. I would advise that you work in phases to these solutions, to where you slowly introduce, the higher the change variable going from your current to your new solution, the more changes that there are there. Just introduce, work in some phases. Don't try to rush it. Once you get comfortable with a new component or a new variable, then introduce that next phase or that new component, and just slowly keep working. Don't feel like you have to rush it. It can get very overwhelming quickly, but we found that those that work it in phases usually have the most success.
I agree with Paul. I mean, hands down, working in phases. Get off of paper. Right? Get off of paper and get on e-commerce. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? And I don't want to hand the check out, and I don't want to send a work order document. So you move that one first, and I think the other ones start to roll. Your comfort level increases, to Paul's point, right? That's phase one.
Yeah, and COVID's pushing that, paperless, contactless even further. So for those that are not there, that's great advice. So in true Back to the Future form, we started our show, we chatted about technology you grew up with. But we'll geek out a little bit. What about the technology you're excited for today, personally or professionally? So we don't have to go over anything we went over, just anything that's out there, because it doesn't have to be related to field service. Anything that you're hearing about that you would love to, the lottery comes tomorrow, you're going to invest in it. Any technologies out there you guys are kind of excited about?
You want to take that, Paul?
Personally / non-field service related, autonomous vehicles just blows my mind. And the semis all the way down to delivery vans and smaller vehicles. I cannot wait to see where those go by the end of my lifetime, just hopefully far in the future. Professionally here or field service related, I think we're going to see some new technologies, some new image analytics, just different ways to gather that field data before we go out into the field. And we'll know exactly what tool, what parts, what schematics, everything that we need before we even think about going out there. I think we're going to see a lot of advances in that area. And not just field service. That's before, a field sales rep goes out. That's before a delivery rep goes out. You're going to get a clear picture of just exactly what's going on at that point B before you leave point A.
Yeah, I'm with Paul. I think automation's big. I'm super excited outside of field service about robotics. So all the robots that we've got going on in the warehouses and that are happening today. I mean, we mentioned Amazon like 6 times in this conversation, and that's what they're doing, right? Like they have their electronic vehicles, they're trying to do 100%. They've got a bunch of robots in their facilities. And then personally, outside of all that, voice enablement. I mean, like I've got my house hooked up with Google's, and I won't say it too loud because then it'll go off. But but yeah, I think it's amazing the things that I can do, right? So I start my day off, and it tells me all the things that I've got going on. It tells me the weather. Obviously, my trip to work is diminished to be 5 minutes now because it's from the stairs, upstairs, downstairs kind of scenario, right? But when you put these Google Homes throughout your home, or throughout your house in the different rooms, right, you can broadcast stuff. So I broadcast to the kids without having to call them down, almost like I just tell them, hey, the food's ready, and they know. I don't have to scream anymore. It's amazing. I don't have to yell at them and tell them to come down. But I think that translates back to business as to say, eventually, if I'm driving from one facility to another or from one field service customer to another, how do I use my time in that driving time? You know, I can blank out the screen, but yet still use voice to give me more information of my next customer, prep me as a field service rep to do the next thing. That I think is really going to be amazing.
Yeah, Paul, you took my autonomous vehicle. That's where I was going. Look, I do not have a Tesla. I do not have one now, but a tip of the hat.
Not yet.
Not yet, exactly. But a tip of the hat to Elon Musk. And you guys may appreciate the movie Spaceballs came out right around when Back to the Future did. And so that's very much why ludicrous mode exists on the Tesla.
Yes.
And the new Tesla coming out next year, which is only $140,000, is faster, and it's called the Plaid because they quoted the only thing faster than ludicrous is plaid. And if you've seen Spaceballs, hopefully you appreciate that. But so we did have a question that came in from the audience that was asking about how do we continue to engage customers in a touchless world? So we talked about things that are online, of course, from an ordering perspective. But if you think from field service and you go through the rest of the process after I've bought, what other things are out there, or can customers become more touchless, so to speak, especially COVID and eventually one day post-COVID?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, SMS messages, like to your, next level up, right? Send me messages about what you're doing next. Get on Facebook and Instagram. Show me some, build out your portfolio of the landscape and that you guys are doing today, or what's happening at that customer's facility, or how you renovated the other home and helped remove all the whatever, right, was happening within the house because you had water damage. There's tons of ways to do that. I think there's, again, SMS messaging, more information online. Use the means that we currently have. I think we're all missing out on, we're on the Facebook Live now, but there's like so many people in field service that feel like Facebook's not the right spot, Instagram's not the right spot, and they really just need to understand how to use these mediums and vehicles to promote what they're doing and stay in touch. So after 5 o'clock, I'm usually not on Facebook Lives, but I am scrolling through Facebook, checking out what everybody else is doing, right? And it's part of the attention economy. We talked about the experience economy earlier. The attention economy still exists because we're grabbing your attention on Facebook or on Instagram. Go out, grab your customer's attention there. That's what my suggestion would be, right? Start small, couple dollars, but, start to invest in that.
Yeah, I think you said it was around post-sales or post-service call, right?
Yeah, I mean, the question was really just can we do that's more touchless? I'm just thinking we touched a lot on the e-commerce section of things, of the buying process can be touchless. So I think I was curious of like some other aspects to it. But Paul, open question wherever you want.
Yeah, I think Scott touched on it at the beginning with the service tech coming out to fix his cable. I think our customer base are going to be much more open to working with us as far as that pre-visit planning. If If someone asked me to go out and take a picture of, my appliance that needs repaired, or, my landscaping we're going to have done, so that they can go ahead and draw up some designs, I'm going to be much more likely to do that now, which, saves a trip and helps, whenever you do engage them, to be much more effective and much more productive. So, I think just working with them a little bit more, you're going to be able to ask a little bit more of them, and there's going to be a lot more understanding and openness.
It's awesome. Hashtag touchless, hashtag paperless. We'll all be better off for it. So,
hashtag Beeper King.
Beeper King.
So one last question before I let you both go. So Zebra, your organization, is a gold sponsor at this year's virtual WorkWave User Conference. Can you give our audience a little teaser, what you'll be promoting at the booth, and ways that who are registered that's watching this can connect with your team at the conference?
Well, yes. Well, we hope we see the whole audience there at our virtual booth. So please stop by. We are going to be going through our whole field portfolio of devices. There's going to be a chance to win one of our devices, a TC57. We're going to be posting up our Field Ops Vision Study, which is an independent study that we do every couple years. Talks about different kind of gauges interest and plans to invest in different technologies and kind of what they're seeing in the next few years. And you're going to get to meet Scott Reyes, which is great.
Paul stole it from me. I think, you get to meet Paul live again. That's the biggest key thing. So what we're doing with the virtual event. And then you get to learn about, 10 reasons why we're moving to rugged devices. That's secondary though.
Awesome. Well, I will virtually stop by and virtually wave, or actually wave. But Scott Reyes, Paul Hilton, fellas, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And for everyone watching, if you've not yet registered for our user conference, follow the link in the show notes to learn more. Register today for access to over 40 live and on-demand sessions to watch at your convenience. Tickets just $99. So Scott and Paul, thank you again so much for joining us tonight.
Michael, thank you
for having us. Yeah.
So, in addition to our user conference, we'll be participating in these other virtual events this fall. Pest World's next week. If you are attending Pest World, please visit our virtual booth, chat with our team, chat with me on your favorite 80s movie, schedule time with our geniuses at our Genius booth, enter to win prizes every day, so much more. We're also going to have a virtual presence at both Home Delivery World and the ISSA show North America. Stay tuned for more details on these, and if you'd like more information, feel free to reach out to our events team. Very easy, events@workwave.com. With that, thank you so much for joining us again tonight. Join us again in November.